Hello guys, this is Alex Assenmacher from WetalkUAV, and as promised I am back here today with the comparison between the Phantom 4 and the brand new Phantom 4 Pro. My goal with this video is to answer two questions. First, what are the main differences between the Phantom 4 and the Phantom 4 Pro? And second, is it worth upgrading to the Phantom 4 Pro? For this video I'll be focusing on three elements. First, the camera. Second, the new controller, and third, the new sensors. Just remember, for a full in-depth review of the brand new Phantom 4 Pro, you can check out the video that we made on our channel, or I'll leave you the link in the description. Now let's go inside. The official price of the Phantom 4 is $1,199 or 1,399 euros, and the Phantom 4 Pro is $1,499 or 1,699 euros on its standard version and $1,799 or 1,999 euros on the Plus version, which includes the controller with the built-in display. Even though visually the gimbal hasn't changed at all, the camera is completely new. The Phantom 4 Professional uses a 1-inch CMOS sensor with 20 million effective pixels. Stop, wait, why is this important? Dear droners, size does matter here. This graph is in order to get an idea on the size increase of the sensor, which now is 1 inch and before it was 2.3. We've all seen digital smartphones or cameras with tons of megapixels given really bad images. And for example, DSLRs with way less megapixels giving out much better images in terms of quality. Why is that? Because of the sensor. Image sensors, or the digital equivalent of the film, consists of millions of light-sensitive spots called photosites, which are used to record information about what is seen through the lens. Therefore, it stands to reason that a bigger sensor can gain more information than a smaller one and produce better images. That plus having almost double the resolution thanks to those 20 megapixels, it's just huge. The Phantom 4 could film in 4K also, but only in 24, 25 and 30 frames per second. The Pro version now gives us the possibility to film up to 60 frames per second, which will allow us to take really beautiful videos in slow motion. The increase from 60 megabits per second, sorry that in the review I said megabytes, up to 100 megabits is also a great improve. Also, a higher bitrate will give us a much higher quality video output, plus the new H.265 codec that will give us even more quality for the final output. But let's see the difference now on what I believe will affect most your video in terms of footage, the field of view. Both lenses are equivalent to a 35mm lens, however, as we have different sensors on the drones now, the Phantom 4 Pro has a 24mm lens, whereas the Phantom 4 had a 20mm lens. This will result in a different field of view. The newer version gives us 84 degree, where the older gave us 94 degree. Here's the difference. Both drones set up on the same spot, pointing with the cameras to the same point. Here's a small comparison of what the new camera is capable of. I've taken this pic, once shot with 12 megapixel on the Phantom 4 and this one shot from the same spot with the Phantom 4 Pro and it's 20 megapixel. Looking into the detail, taking this plant as an example, here are both images put together. It's easy to see that we have much more quality on the right photo taken with the Phantom 4 Pro. Also, for the dynamic range we can see on these clouds here, as the right photo has much more detail and less added noise than the left one. Finally, I wanted to compare both Phantoms on unedited night shots. Here's the result. We can see on both images that the Phantom 4 Pro has also a greater dynamic range in this case, especially on the highlights, and also the quality of the footage is better. As we also explained on the review, we don't have a fixed aperture anymore. On the Phantom 4 it was fixed f2.8, and if we wanted to close that aperture we had to use ND filters. Now on the new Phantom 4 Pro we can manually close that aperture going up to f11, without using any external help such as a filter. As I mentioned in the review, the f11 would be something close to using an ND16 filter, which had a 4 f-stop filter strength previously. Again, this does not mean that now we won't be using filters anymore, as there are different types of filters, not only ND filters. This means that now we're able to avoid, for example, jello effects even without using ND filters, as we can close the aperture. Before getting into the second biggest improve, which is the mechanical shutter, let's talk about a few improvements the Phantom 4 Pro includes now. Even if we probably will never use them, we do have on the new drone higher ISO settings. On video it goes up to 6400 and on still mode up to 12800. For the burst mode lovers, we only had up to 7 frames per second on the old version, but now we can do up to 14 frames per second. And our whole camera is now available to work with microSD cards up to 128 GB. And it does require now a minimum of level class 10 with a writing speed of 15 megabits per second. Careful here, I've tried an SD card smaller than that and it just doesn't film. And now let's finally talk about the mechanical shutter. The new Phantom 4 Pro includes a mechanical shutter, whereas the older version didn't. This is now a very big change, especially for all those people using drones for photography related jobs, such as photogrammetry or topography, among others. Let me explain. A mechanical shutter is used to control how long the pixels on an image sensor collect light. A simple mechanical shutter can be used to turn the entire sensor array on-off during the exposure. This eliminates the need for added electronics at each pixel location that would be used to turn on or off the pixel and store the charge or accumulated light. Talking simple, it gets a more real and detailed image with no need of extra digital help. What does this mean? Well, one of the biggest problems we have with our drones is the so-called rolling shutter. Rolling shutter is a method of image capture in which a still picture, or each frame of a video, is captured not by taking a snapshot of the entire scene at a single instant in time, but rather by scanning across the scene rapidly, either vertically or horizontally. In other words, not all parts of the image of the scene are recorded at exactly the same instant. Let me give you an example with this picture. As you can see, the propellers are distorted. And this is not really good in order to get a professional shot or video. Same happens for all those people scanning areas or creating maps with their drones. With the mechanical shutter now, we can avoid this kind of distortions. Until now, those professionals had to build up their cameras to the drones, as the cameras of the Phantom series weren't enough. However, with this improvement, DJI gives those professionals the perfect tool for their job. So, once again, very nice job here. About the remote controller. Is there a really big difference on the controllers? Well, the new Phantom 4 Pro has 2 versions. The standard version, which is the same controller as we know until now, and the Plus version, which includes now a built-in display. Here are the details for the Plus version. The Phantom 4 Professional's remote controller includes a 5.5-inch 1080p and 1000 nit built-in display. Its screen can be seen clearly in direct sunlight, it can be used in low temperature environments, and a mobile device is no longer required. Amazing! Both new controllers have the following specs. A 5.8 G-Link is added. Many Wi-Fi and Bluetooth devices work at the 2.4G frequency band, which will interfere with the wireless communication of the aircraft that works at the same frequency band. Currently, the 5.8 frequency band has not been used widely, that is, the aircraft at this frequency band will not be easily interfered. The maximum transmission distance is divided into 2 different compliants: FCC compliant with 4.3 miles or 7 kilometers and CE compliant with 2.2 miles. Those are all the technical details about the remote controllers. However, I can tell you my own experience, and I have to say I was very skeptical in the beginning. I thought, okay, it's just one less cable, the built-in display is okay, I won't get any messages while I'm flying, so this is kind of great. But I have to say now that I'm really happy with this new controller, as you're actually not worrying about your phone's battery anymore, you're not worrying about the cable anymore. I forgot the cable tons of times. And of course you also reduce the time you spend when building up all your drone, putting the propellers and setting up for flying, as you just have to press one button and the controller is ready. So for me, this is also a great improvement. Definitely major changes to the previous version of the controller, plus it has also a built-in mic and a speaker. about the sensors, and as some of you have asked, I want to resolve all of your doubts here. The Phantom 4 had great stereo vision sensors at this front part. The sensors work within a range of 0.7 meters or 2.3 feet up to 30 meters or 110 feet. The stereo vision works, for example, as our human eyes. It has two cameras. This allows the camera to simulate human binocular vision, therefore gives it the ability to capture three-dimensional images. Within the range we just mentioned before, it creates what's called Disparity Map. Without getting into too technical specs that may be difficult or confusing, this refers to the apparent pixel difference or motion between both sensors, and this will give the drone the distance of an object, and thus it will avoid crashing into it by either braking, or flying slower, or flying around. Creating very simple mathematics, which is time of collision is the same as the distance to the object plus the speed of the drone. Now, this technology is also included in the rear of the drone, which will help us to avoid crashes when flying backwards. And the brand new TOF, or time of flight sensors, located at both laterals of the drone, use the same technology we've seen, for example, at Kinect. Let me take this part of the in-depth review video to explain it again. The new lateral sensors, 3D time of flight sensors, work by illuminating the scene with modulated light and measuring the phase delay of the returned light. The phase delay is proportional to the actual distance. Sounds complicated, but we've been living with this technology for a few years now. For example, a vacuum robot. The obstacle avoidance range for this new 3D TOF is from 0.2 meters to 7 meters. According to official data, it doesn't have problems detecting trees, walls or objects. However, there may be some issues with transparent objects and small-sized objects, so be careful with that, please. And as some of you have asked, these TOF sensors are only activated when flying in beginner mode or in tripod mode. All about the sensor set until now is new on the Phantom 4 Pro, adding this way 3 new directions for obstacle avoidance, both laterals and the rear system. I believe the first question has been answered. Those were the biggest changes among the Phantom 4 and the Phantom 4 Pro. And to the second question, whether I would be upgrading to the Phantom 4 Pro, of course I have to say it depends. My doubts here start with the Phantom 3 Pro. Everything what's below that line I believe has to be upgraded, yes, for sure. This drone has developed some serious big changes compared to those drones. So of course, if you have a Phantom 3 Advanced, if you have a Phantom 3 Standard, I recommend you to upgrade to the Phantom 4 Pro. Also, if you're a professional filmmaker or a professional photograph, or you're working on photogrammetry, topography, thermography, of course, you can go ahead and buy this drone. It's worth the money and it'll give you the final tool, the perfect tool to do your job. With the enhanced sensor plus the mechanical shutter. Just go ahead. However, where I'm not sure and probably wouldn't recommend to buy that drone is if you're a hobby droner and you like to do some videos from time to time, you like traveling and taking the drone with you. The price on this is really important, and if you're short on money, I wouldn't do that. As you're probably already an experienced pilot, all those sensors may not be really helping you. However, as my friend Tim says, sensors are like airbags. You think you don't really need them, but if at some point you need them, you better pray they are there. Well, this is all for today, guys. Remember to leave a like, leave a comment if you have any inquiry or any doubt. Subscribe, please. Upcoming videos will be great, so stay tuned, keep calm, and let's talk UAV.